Hello, everyone, this is Marc Cram with you. I'm going to tell you about a comedy made in 2018. It's called Hello Mr. Billionaire. There are spoilers ahead, so watch out. Du Wang is a 37-year-old goalkeeper for Dojin, a minor league soccer team that has not had a very successful career. A couple of years ago he bit an opponent during a match, causing him to be ejected from the match. The man also played for the women's team, pretending to be a woman, worked as a human sushi plate, and even modeled for artists. When Dojin calls him to have lunch with him, the protagonist thinks he is going to be hired by a more successful team, but in fact it was the other way around. Mr. Dojin offers to pay him to lose the next match on purpose. But he rejects the offer, saying he doesn't like cheating and so he won't let his opponent score even one goal. However, when match day arrives, Du gets cocky and gets distracted a lot, so he only catches one match, allowing his opponents to score 5 goals against him. Players on the other team even salute him and toss him in honor of the fact that he lost to them so easily. After being kicked off the team because of this match, a depressed Du does not want to leave his apartment, but his teammate and best friend Sang-Jon pulls him to take him to the coach and talk to him, promising that he will get his job back. However, his plan collapses and the coach is not interested in getting Du back. He says that even the dog has become the team's best goalkeeper. Then Sang-Jon threatens to leave the team if Du doesn't get his job back. The coach starts laughing and fires him, saying that losing them both would be a big deal for the team. On the way back, Racketeer throws himself under the hero's car, pretending to be run over. Realizing that this is just a setup, Du and Jang grab him and hit him several times against the car and even use his body to wash out the car window. A young girl, Soju, suddenly sees this. She calls it bullying and calls more people as witnesses. He doesn't believe our hero's explanations, since he caught them bullying the man. This leads them both to jail, but someone has paid their bail. It was Mr. Jin who beat them. He says he is not in the soccer business and the encounter was just a test. The guards tell Sang-Jon to wait outside. He introduces Du to Im-san and Lin-san. These men are from the trust. Du explains that his grandfather had a brother who quarreled with his family and left, causing everyone to think he was dead. But in fact it turned out that he had only passed away a month ago. Du is the only heir. But in order to inherit, he must complete the tasks his grandfather's brother tells him about in the video. He recorded this video before he died. Du has to spend 2 billion yuan in 30 days. If he completes this task, he will receive the rest of his grandfather's brother's money, 30 billion yuan. However, there are a few conditions. The money must be spent legally, he must not have any assets left at the end, he must not give gifts or spend the money on charity. He must also spend the money on himself, but he can hire up to 100 people, accept their working conditions, he cannot destroy valuable things that he bought, also he cannot offer to buy things more than their price and he must not tell anyone about it, because it is a game of chance. If he refuses, he will be a coward for life and can take 10 billion yuan and walk away. Then the rest of the money stays in the fund. The men ask Du, will he accept the challenge or walk away with the money? Du accepts the challenge. Mr. Jin says he will watch him to make sure he does not break the rules. He gives him one of his accountants to keep track of his expenses. This accountant turns out to be Soju, who doesn't want to work with the main character because of an incident she saw. But Du hires her anyway as revenge for putting them in jail at the time. He then takes Sang-Jon with him and together they go to the vault to see the money. They almost faint when they see so many bills in one room. Leaving the bank with bags of money, Du immediately begins to spend it. He hires security guards working in the building, offering them a good salary. After that, he rents several cars. Du arrives at his old soccer team and informs them that he is renting them and moving them to the big leagues. He also arranges a match against Hentai to play against them in the future. After making repairs to the entire stadium, the team can't believe he's rich now and laughs at him. To prove to the team, he orders a tractor to drop a bunch of money in the middle of the soccer field. The whole team joins Du. They wait for him in the car, but he gets into another car with Soju. He tries to kiss her during the ride, but she refuses, stating that she has a boyfriend. He's a speaker and teacher, communicates in common sentences, he radiates positive energy and doesn't care about money. Soon they arrive at a very fancy hotel. Duyu calls the manager and offers a large sum of money to rent this hotel for a whole month. Seeing the large amount of money, the manager accepts the offer. The team goes to the dining room for a celebratory lunch. All of this falls under the rules because he is allowed to spend money on employees. He hires the entire hotel staff to help them. During dinner, Duyu announces that he will start a new investment company and Sang John will be the CEO. He made him director not because he is good at investing, but because he is stupid, and he could make Duyu lose all his money. From then on, the protagonist begins to spend more and more, from $1 million haircut to renting expensive clothes and cars. This all baffles him, because it all could have cost him much less than how much he spent on it. By calculation, if he continues to spend money at this rate, he will have spent the entire amount in 6 months. It was fast, but not fast enough for him. That's when the guy at Soju comes in to take her to a lecture on how not to be a slave to money. Refusing the offer of a drink, Soju's boyfriend tells her about his lecture, to which no one has bought tickets. Duyu takes some money from his safe and buys all the tickets for his lecture. The guy immediately changes his anti-capitalist stance and accepts a drink from Duyu, even though he does not drink alcohol. He hires the guy, to which Soju is very offended and realizes that her boyfriend is not the guy she dreamed of. After a while, he meets with his new investment company for the first time. He orders them to invest in closed businesses that could close at any moment. Immediately some man shows up, showing his car that floats on land, and asks to invest. Duyu gives him money, before asking who else has dreams he can fulfill. After a while, during a massage, the masseuse wishes to have sex with him, not taking no for an answer. But Soju walks in, informing him that he has to go to a meeting, saving our protagonist. Duyu had a meeting with 2 men at a golf course where many people were practicing. Among them, he saw a girl from the foundation building. Most likely she is here to keep an eye on him. Duyu invites the men over for dinner, but he can't splurge on dinner for strangers, so he serves them instant ramen and sausages. One of them quotes a famous Chinese investor. Duyu then spends a huge amount of money to bring this investor to them and have lunch with him. Soju is the interpreter for this meeting. Duyu asks him to tell him about the most failed investments in his life, because he wants to give lessons on business mistakes. The investor is offended by this because he teaches people how to succeed. He leaves without even tasting the food. Soju scolds Duyu for being so rude and leaves too. Duyu chases her with his car. Soju reveals that she is considered a black widow in the investment business because every company she worked for went bankrupt. She didn't put it on her resume because she was afraid she would be fired. Duyu says it's okay for other companies to call her a black widow, but to him, she is a real diamond. Our protagonist continues to spend insane amounts of money, having a servant for every action he takes. But he becomes enraged when his investments turn out to be good and bring him even more money. He disperses his team and is very much in a rage. He curses his luck. Im-san and Lin-san, seeing this news on TV, are happy that Duyu is not doing well. Sang John comes to him and says that he has a friend and asks, "Don't we have room for him?" As soon as Duyu sees a man with a damaged eye dressed in Japanese clothes, he immediately hires him. The man says that he is very grateful and he will do a very good job so that one day they can celebrate the results with fireworks. At this point Soju celebrates her birthday alone, having bought a small cake just for herself. Suddenly her boyfriend comes over, gives her a big bouquet of flowers and sits down to eat her cake without asking her permission. He also tells her that he has an idea for a new book and asks her to ask Duyu for an investment to release the book. In return, she smashes the cake in his face and leaves for Duyu's place, but he won't let her talk about her work that night. Instead he launches 1,000 fireworks into the sky. When Soju says it's her birthday, Duyu says it's a gift for her, even though he doesn't even know when she has it. Despite everything, this gesture hasn't touched her in any way. She says that they can't be together because they are from different worlds. She will always see him as a brother or an uncle. After a while, She notices that the whole town is dotted with posters of her and asking Do-you to forgive her. Also, she was being spun on TV. Because of this, they start to notice her on the street and take pictures of her. Soju calls Do-you to settle the matter, but he refuses to listen to her and invites her to a concert instead. Soju gets in a cab and drives to Do-yu's house. Suddenly Racketeer jumps under the car and pretends to be hit. Soju realizes that Do-you wasn't lying at the time. Learning that he is innocent, Soju accepts an invitation to a concert, saying she wants to get to know Do-you better. The concert turns out to be a private one with her favorite musician. After the concert, she has a photo shoot with him. Do-you invites Soju over for dinner, after which they play soccer with the kids and then they walk down the street together. Im-san and Lin-san hire Soju's boyfriend to stop Do-you from winning. Meanwhile, our protagonist is very disappointed when he sees that his team has a disco instead of training. Sang-John comes to him and tells him that their investment company has made another billion. Do-you beats his comrade and throws himself into the pool as an idea suddenly comes to him. He's doing a presentation on a new insurance company for the fat people. He will pay for every grand they lose weight by. This drives Im-san and Lin-san crazy, but there's nothing they can do about it because insurance is a legitimate business, and what Do-you came up with is not charity. A huge number of people take part in insurance and start exercising, sometimes even together with Do-you. All over the city, people have started exercising. All the gyms are full, so people are using alternative things like ladders and even land-based swimming machines. For all this, Do-you is given an award as Humanitarian of the Year. When he goes on stage for the award, he says he does it not to help people, but for business reasons. But no one takes his words seriously. When the match against Team Hentai finally starts, they declare that they will score double-digit goals. Almost the entire stadium cheers for Team Hentai. And only a small part of the hall cheers for Team Do-you. Even so, their team shows up spectacularly, flying in a helicopter. During the game, Sang-John pretends to be hit, causing the most important player of Team Hentai to be given a red card. Unfortunately, that's not enough, and by the end of the first half Hentai has scored 8 goals and Do-yu's team has 0. Do-you says that they need to prevent them from scoring double-digit goals in order not to lose their dignity. They try strange tactics, such as circling the ball carrier, but it doesn't work and Hentai's team scores the 9th goal. After that, the Do-you team uses their final tactic. They put all the players in front of the goal to take the balls away, even using their face and groin. At this time, Soju and his boyfriend are standing in the stands. Soju's boyfriend says that he forged some receipts for Do-yu's payments to make it look like he spent less and lost, so he also says that Do-you is not who he says he is and is just taking advantage of her. Soju runs away from him, but the moment her boyfriend runs after her. Returning to the match, Do-yu's team defends the goal to bruises and wounds. This draws sympathy from the audience, who begin to cheer for them. Even their coach joins Do-yu's team, but he half slips on a water bottle and falls. Luckily, with the help of determination, the team held out and the match ended and the score was 9-0. The entire crowd celebrated the Do-you team's victory, because not letting a team like this score a 2-goal lead is like a victory. In the middle of the celebration, Do-you gets a call from Soju's phone saying that his girlfriend has been kidnapped. They send pictures as proof. Do-you thinks it's another Im-san and Lin-san plan, so he hires thugs to catch them. But they no I only known that they hired Soju's boyfriend to forge receipts for payment. At this time, Do-you receives a video from a con artist saying that he is throwing Soju's boyfriend off the roof and will soon do so to Soju if he doesn't pay 10 million by 6 p.m. Do-you is in a tricky situation, because if he agrees and gives the money, he will break the rules of the game and lose his legacy. But Do-you doesn't know that this is only the 3rd test his grandfather left him to see if Do-yu's human life is more important than money, and if it is, he will pass the test. Soju and her boyfriend are fine, nothing has happened to them. But Do-you instead of going spends his last hours at karaoke and has no intention of going. When the time was up, they were ready to leave, but when they started to go down, they saw Do-you crying next to the bags of money he would exchange for Soju. Then they inform him that he has passed the test. He is played a third message from his grandfather telling him why, when he was so rich, he didn't get married. After a while Du and Soju come back from around the world trip and have a lot of fun. They are ready to donate money to charity, but they decide to save some of the money for the birth of a child. They start writing down everything the baby needs. Even though the list started with quite ordinary things, it ends up with some very extravagant purchases, and in the end they decide to keep all of the money for themselves. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Bye everyone.